We've all seen it. The messy social media messages, the public tea spilling, and the absolute embarrassment of finding out that your life is a lie through a Facebook post or an Instagram message that your spouse thought was hidden. What if it didn't have to be like that, though? What if you could find out before their affair got too deep? Statistics show that over 20% of marriages deal with infidelity, and most affairs last for years because they thrive in the dark. It's time to turn the lights on. Verified.com is the world's first searchable relationship registry. It's not just an app, it's a digital boundary for your marriage. When you register your spouse on Verified, you are claiming your relationship on a global scale, whether you're talking, you're dating, or you're married. If another man or woman is being told your spouse is single or divorced and they search for your spouse on the registry, they find you instead. Now, here's the game changer. Verified allows you to speak one-on-one and directly with that other person. No gaslighting from your spouse. No he said, she said. No, oh my God, you went through my phone. How could you betray my trust like that? And zero social media drama. Just the truth, person to person, before things go too far. Don't wait for that gut feeling to become a nightmare. Because even if you think your spouse would never, there's an even better chance that you just never know. Register your spouse today using the link in the show notes and lock in your legacy to protect your peace. Marriage isn't supposed to feel like roommates, but it doesn't have to feel like a war either. Hi, I'm Kameran Alareqi, certified marriage coach and a relationship expert. Every week on Married and Connected, I bring you real talk, hard truths, and practical tools you can start using right away. Whether you've been married 2 years or 42, this is where you'll find hope, encouragement, and steps that actually work. So let's make your marriage feel good again, starting right now. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of the Married and Connected podcast. I'm your host, Kameran Alareqi. Today, I am joined by Thomas Eberts. I know I say every single week that I am so excited to have guests, but that is truly because these guests are freaking awesome. Thomas Eberts is not a coach. He is a men's initiator. He is an advisor for high-achieving men. Why? Because in his story, he has lived this, just like I have lived this and now help people. That is exactly what he's done. But here is his story. He is a husband who has gone from ready to sign divorce papers to saving his marriage and having a brand new baby in 16 months. So dad as well, and now has a 2.5 and a 3-month-old at home. And he has been featured in Forbes next to Jordan Belfort with an article that reads, Sales Pros Who Use Emotional Intelligence Close More Deals. So professionals, parents, spouses, there is something in this episode for every single person. So welcome. I'm so excited to have you, Thomas.
Karen, let's rock and roll. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. So jump in, just talk a little bit about your story. What is, divorce papers all the way to saving your marriage in such a short time?
Yeah, so I think I want to start at the beginning. I do believe that I was a boy trapped in a man's body, in a father's body, in a husband's body, and I had no idea that I was a boy trapped in that. Meaning, I was not at the point where I was actually serving my marriage, in parenthood, my children, but I was basically operating on a broken operating system that I have absorbed from my parents, who have taught me everything there is, quote unquote, or there was for me, about being a parent and being a spouse, being in a marriage. And I'm not saying that my parents did a bad job. They did an as good job as they could with everything they had available, because I believe we all do try. But at the end of the day, there was a massive gap in between what my father taught me about being a husband and being a father to what it actually needs, what I am required to be. And we can talk about a couple of archetypes here. This is like going back from my story. This is the foundation for why I fucked up in my marriage and as a father, and why within 2 years, I have destroyed my marriage and my relationship to my wife. How I started rebuilding it after a very painful but strong realization.
Okay, so am I hearing you right that basically you were married 2 years and that's when your wife, I'm assuming, wanted the divorce?
Yeah, so my wife came up to me September 2024. She sat me down. She said, like, Thomas, um, I'll be honest with you. I made a decision. There's no way I see forward for us in the future together. We need to divorce and we need to co-parent. This is not good for any one of us, not for our child, not for me, not for you.
Okay, so and if this is too personal, you can totally tell me, but was it just like toxic fighting? Was she just overwhelmed and over functioning? Like what was the dynamic there that was leading to her wanting the divorce?
I think I was completely absent emotionally, and that led into absolute breakdowns, to panic attacks, to me just the the intensity of my life, really from my mom having cancer to me being bullied, almost dying, and so many other things have led to me emotionally shutting down and not
Yeah.
trusting. And hence I didn't trust me with my emotions. I wasn't able to hold mine, so I wasn't able to hold hers. So every time
Yep.
she would freak out, I would freak out, and I would add chaos to the chaos instead of being the rock she needed me to be. And hence
Yeah.
things would blow up out of proportion, and we would like just spiral into dynamics further and further and further. So in the beginning it was like, oh yeah, we were able to bounce back from this fight, it's cool. But then over 2 years, like it piled up to a massive mountain of shit that we went through
Yeah.
together, and that weighed so strongly on our shoulders that we were kind of like paralyzed, and I had no idea how to get out of it either. Thought I was doing the work. I was reading books, I was reading listening to podcasts, and like working on myself and doing all of these things, and I thought we are getting somewhere, but we didn't. In September 2024, when my wife told me, it became pretty clear that we're not going anywhere,
Yeah.
and that something had to change. Yeah,
Okay, so in my own experience as a coach, I think what happens is when people come to this trajectory, like they basically hit this fork in the road. And so they either go one of two ways. Either it's, well, you're the problem, you're the toxic person, you're the cause of all of my problems. Like it's just blame, blame, blame. Or it's like what you did and it was like, I'm responsible for this. I need to fix this problem. This is on me. What was that shift for you in your brain that was like, I'm the problem here. I'm the one that needs to fix this, and here's how I'm gonna do it. What
yeah,
happened there?
yeah. Couple things. So, as I said, I thought I was doing the work, and I thought I did everything I humanly could to fix this. And then my wife came to me and said, like, no, you don't. I want a divorce. And I was like, okay, if it's not working. So I sat down and I realized, okay, I am the only one that led us into this situation, because I do believe strongly into masculine and feminine dynamics, and that the masculine is leading and the feminine is following. If the
Yes.
feminine is the garden, I am the gardener. In my thoughts, my words, my actions do sow seeds. If I don't want weeds, I need to seed flowers. If I want to seed flowers, I have to change. I have to lead differently. So in that moment, that moment of like where I took full responsibility, that was like 60 to 90 days. That was a process. I was not
Okay.
like, oh yeah, okay, you want a divorce? I take full responsibility. I will change. No, it
Yeah.
was me sitting down and going through every conversation that I could remember of like, what was her criticism? What were her concerns? What were the things that she sees in me that she doesn't feel safe with, comfortable with, where she doesn't feel seen, where she doesn't feel heard? And I went through for like 30 days, every morning, listing out all of the things I can remember. And then step by step, I saw how I was contributing to creating that problem in the first place. And then it doomed on me of like, yo, dude, you have been leading your marriage into this place. So you'll be the only one able to lead it out of there and into the direction that you want to see. So now I have to own all of it. I have to
Mhm.
own everything in order for me to be able to lead this. Because if I don't own every decision, every thought, every word, every action, like, God, I'm a slave. Like, I'm not going to get where I want to go. So I needed to take that full responsibility and put everything on my shoulders, because she wasn't able to carry it. She had already have to carry all of her pain, her frustration, her hurt. Like, all of the times I've let her down, the times that she hurt most and I wasn't there, like all of that she already had to carry. Now I had to change. So that shift happened gradually over like 30 to 60 days, where I really sat down and looked at the status quo of like, yo, what the fuck is not wrong with me or broken, but where am I not embodying the archetypes that I need to embody, and where am I not leading the way that I need to lead in order for my wife to feel safe around
Yep.
me and for me to create an environment in which she can find her happiness more often, where she can find her fulfillment more often, where she can feel more peaceful. That was basically the point of realization.
That makes sense. Yeah. For men that you work with, because again, there's that fork in the road where I think again where men are willing to step up and lead and take accountability, or they run away and they're the ones that file for divorce. They're the ones that blame. What do you say to those men?
Do you love your wife?
And if
And I
they
get,
say, I love her, but I'm not attracted to her anymore. Because I hear that a lot.
uh-huh. Then I say that's your problem, not hers.
Ooh, really? Dig into that.
So at the end of the day, if you don't feel attracted to your wife, it's because your wife is not attracted to you. It's because there's no polarity in your relationship. It's because everything feels monotonous. Everything feels like roommate behavior. Everything is just logistics. There's no fun. There's no aliveness. There's no embodiment of your emotions. There's no dancing in the living room. There's no wild sex on the couch. There is no singing together. There is no going out. There is no experiences where you feel alive, where you're like, oh my God, this is life. This is life force.
Yeah.
And that's your problem because you lead this. You built the environment as a man, not the woman. The woman is the one who's invited into the kingdom. The kingdom is built for her, and you built the kingdom. That's why I say, hey, if you don't feel attracted to your wife and you once did, that's your fucking problem. You're going to solve that and I'm going to help you. That's what I
I
say
love it.
when I hear that. Yeah.
I love that. I understand now what you were saying at the beginning where you were like, "I'm not a coach because I kick men's asses and I get them to where they need to go."
Yeah. Yeah,
I love it.
I initiate boys into manhood, men into husbandhood, and husbands into fatherhood. Because with each of these shifts, responsibilities shift,
Mhm.
perspectives shift, feelings shift, thoughts shift, words need to shift, our behavior needs to shift.
Yeah.
Because what is required from us as a boy is no responsibility. We play and fuck around. But as a man, we're stepping up into responsibility and contributing to our community. If we step into husbandhood, we're stepping into the next evolution of service to our wife and to create a safe container for her that is God centered, that is family centered. When we then step into parenthood, into fatherhood, this is where we not only serve our wives, but our children as well. And
Yeah.
so the responsibility grows over time. Hence, our identity needs to grow. And hence, we have to have initiations where wisdom is passed down, where your past identity has to die through physical pain, emotional pain, and the wisdom that you need to acquire in order to be set forth on that new path. Yeah, so I'm not a fucking coach. I'm an advisor. I give advice. I would see myself as the eagle that is flying above the mountains and can see it all. When my clients talk to me, I'm the eagle flying that is able to see the situation from above and be able to tell them, okay, here is a mountain passage, here's a cave, here's a hole you shouldn't step into, here's a wild river, and basically guide them through that. And then the men's initiation programs and pathways, that's where the identities crack and reform. And then within 4 days, they return a different man.
Is that an in-person thing?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh, love
so
that.
so it's online plus in person. So
Okay.
the online program is 12 weeks
Okay.
initiation through 4 phases. The allegory and the metaphor I use is we turn the raw iron into a blade that is there to serve family and children and your purpose. It's basically the online program, and then it's solidified with one full immersion for like 5 days with me in person. Yeah.
That's awesome. So one of the things that you were talking about is, I mean, we've been talking a lot about leading. How do you distinguish between masculine leadership and toxic control?
Yeah. So toxic control comes from boyish behavior. Basically, you are a tyrant. You're a tyrant because you're scared of the feminine. You're scared of the feminine in her full embodiment. Not because the feminine in her full embodiment is a threat, but because you are a boy and a boy looking to a fully embodied woman sees his mother. So if you come into your fully embodied men and you see a fully embodied woman, You see your queen next to the king. You change from tyrant that tries to control, assert power, be the dominant force. In the manosphere, like with all of these Andrew Tates, oh my God, fucking stupid. Like, who shit in your brain that you teach our children how to navigate relationships like that? Oh, sorry, but yes, you have a really great raw energy that has a lot of force, but the way you direct it is just not like a king would do. A king navigates his energy in the way a sovereign king, a chief of his tribe, how they navigate their energy is for the benefit of all, for the benefit of their people, for the benefit of the kingdom. They have a vision that they see in their mind's eye of what they want to build for the benefit of the world. And this is where you lead from. And this is not oppression. This is not dominance. This is not a power struggle. This is leading from that. And if you lead from that angle, you can say, no, baby, this is not a good idea to do. And she's going to be like, what? Like, I want to be free. I want to do whatever I want. I said, yes, you can. And let me help you understand why I think it's not a good idea to do this. This is what we're working towards in our family. This is what we're establishing. These are the things that we are looking to build. And if you do this, it's not going to be in harmony with that. And I'm not down with that. Having a backbone is being a
Yeah.
leader and helping your wife feel safe with your leadership. And for that to happen, you need to build a track record of trust, which you have likely broken in your marriage over so many years and sometimes decades, that you have to reestablish that track record of trust so she can actually submit to your leadership lovingly, not through oppression, but that she sees that you are the sovereign king, the chief that has the best in mind for her and the family. And that's how you restore real leadership.
I truly think that men need to like rewind and go back and listen to that part that you just said again, because as a woman, I think the hardest part of being in a marriage is when our husband doesn't. So men are like big picture. They see the macro where women see the micro. We see the details, right? The men see a home. Is it structurally sound? Is it safe? Is it all these things? Women see, here's where I can put the plants. Here's where I can put a lamp. Here's how I can set the bed up and be it all feng shui and all the things. And in a marriage, if we aren't communicated with or aren't led, we don't know what the big picture is. We don't see it. So we basically develop a big picture of like, okay, well, here's what I think. And if that's not on par with what our husband thinks, it's really difficult to submit and to be led. I heard once a woman say that being led, like my husband should be able to blindfold me, take my hand, and lead me anywhere. And when I take that blindfold off, I'm happy with where I'm at. And I think if we aren't communicated with, and it's just like, because I said so, or this is how it is, or we emulate how our parents parented us, we don't know what the big picture is. And that's really difficult.
Mhm. Yeah,
Do you see that a lot?
it's a broken operating system, as you
Yeah.
said, like how our parents did it. It's a broken operating system of relationships. So if you have a phone and your phone gets slow, it doesn't work anymore, it shuts down, it just crashes, what do? Yes, you upgrade the operating system because likely there are bug fixes, right? So
Mhm.
same thing you got to do with your marriage and parenthood. If stuff doesn't work, there's an operating system underneath it that runs through your nervous system. You need to upgrade that. You need to rewire and retrain your nervous system, which is also a big part of everything that I do. Yeah, it's basically, yeah, and as I said, like, the for the woman to have that problem or the wife to have that problem in her marriage, that's not her fault. It's her man's fault, because if the woman doesn't know the big picture and isn't led well, the woman will do that as well. She will just put it on her shoulders and she will just plan everything. She will plan the days, she will plan the groceries, she will wash all of the dishes and understand how to do the finances and like get everything situated. And the man is actually just the boy, is just the son of the wife that is taken care of and is just bringing home the money. Fuck that. If you're a high level executive making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, that's not enough. Yes, that's one part of your responsibility of being a husband and a father. But if you come home, there's a ton of other responsibilities.
Yeah.
For example, taking the fucking load off your wife's back so she can't find more happiness because that's what you built for. You're
Yeah.
stronger in your mind. And you want to make sure that you do everything you can in order for your wife to find more happiness in her days and like take off a load. Yes, wash the dishes. Yes, fill the dishwasher. Yes, do the laundry if she needs help. Yes, clean the home. Yes, fucking be there. Like, do whatever you can in order to create be present with your children. Take them somewhere. Get your children
Build
situated with
memories.
friends and come back. And then spend time with your wife. Go out. Create an experience for her. Conquer her again. It's
Yeah.
like, can't just be on the passenger seat, dude. Just because you bring $500,000 home, nobody cares. Your wife doesn't.
I'm glad you brought this up because this is one of the things where men get twisted. What I hear a lot is, but I'm not appreciated. Why can't you appreciate me that I'm bringing home $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year? And then going back to the whole phone example, it's like, well, this phone doesn't work, so I'm going to upgrade, but I'm not going to upgrade the system. I'm just going to get a new phone. I had a 13, now I'm going to an iPhone 16. You see what I'm saying? And so it's just, the system is broken. Speak into that a little bit.
Dude, go ahead, get an iPhone 16 with the same operating system, and you're gonna have the same problems. You need to still upgrade the operating system. It's not gonna upgrade itself. Hey, that's my first answer. If you get a new wife, bless you. The problems are just gonna be even more intense because God is gonna be like, oh, this fucking dude is still not seeing what he needs to do. Well,
Yeah.
let's turn up the intensity to 10, to 11, to
Yeah.
12. Let's see what's up. Let's see how much I need to do in order for him to break into parts, for him to understand what needs to be done. And then on the other side, well, I'm not appreciated for what I bring home. Fucking get your head out of your ass. What's the last time you appreciated your wife? When's the last time you wrote her a love note? When's the last time you wrote her a letter about how much you appreciate her? When's the last time you told her what an amazing mother she is and how much she's taking care of the children with that mental and emotional load every day, regulating her nervous system while she has 2, 3 children crying all day long for shit? When's the last time you saw her for all of the laundry she's putting away or folding? When's the last time you've appreciated her for carrying your babies 9 months into in her womb and then giving birth in a fucking painful process and then having to go through postpartum where her entire body is changing and she has pains, where her body is changing so much that she doesn't know if she's ever going to look like she did look like before pregnancy ever again? When's the last time you appreciated her for that? When's the last time you appreciated her for her beauty, for the radiant face, for her lips, for her eyes? When's the last time you appreciated for how she has helped you grow into who you are? That would be my question. Because if you want to see flowers in your garden, you got to fucking sow them. So if you
Yeah.
want more appreciation in your marriage, appreciate her. And you will find that she will appreciate you more over time. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. It took me 9 months. It took me 9 months from divorce ultimatum to where she was starting to appreciate me, to surrender more to me, to seek me out, to fall into my arms. Not every day. She didn't do that every day, but it started happening slowly. The
Yeah.
flowers started growing, but I needed to show up consistently without ever keeping track or tally marks for 9 months.
I think it's really easy to fall into that. Like after you've been at month after month after month, it's like, okay, well, I'm not seeing any change. She's not coming back to me. Nothing's changing. And that's not the goal. The goal is consistency. The goal is you're still doing this. You're doing this to show her. If she's still there, she still cares.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that a lot of men miss.
Yeah,
For
100%.
sure.
100%, because like a lot of these high achieving men bring their boardroom brains into the marriage and then they look at return on investment. Okay, it takes me about 5 minutes to write a love note, takes me about 15 minutes every day to do this, 20 minutes to do that. That's 45 minutes. I could spend these 45 minutes on preparing the boardroom meeting and I'll probably have a better outcome in business. So I'm just not doing it because like I did it for 2 months, I had no return on investment. Like, come on, your marriage doesn't work like the boardroom. Your marriage is the exact opposite of that. And that's why you need to lead and navigate at home completely different how you do business. Now, one thing to mention though, the business is good, because the business teaches you that you have to stick with something for some time, even if you do not see success. So my question for these men is like, hey, have you ever worked on a product for 9 months without seeing success and you still kept doing it because you believed in it? Right. The same thing you got to do with your marriage, dude. Can't just like, you can't be a split personality. You have to integrate it. Like, integrate that into one, and don't
Yeah,
live like one life like this and the other life like that. It just doesn't work like that.
that makes sense. You talk a lot about giving men a map. What are the three cardinal directions on that map that men usually miss?
I'd actually say four directions that
Okay.
I would like to speak about, and then there's a really good book written by Robert Moore about the king, magician, lover, and warrior. These are archetypes. So I would say these are the general directions that you need to strive into. You need to integrate yourself into the king, into the magician, to the lover, and the warrior. So these are fundamentally different energies, and each of these archetypes and energies do carry two shadow parts to them, which are basically expressing them in like a bipolar way. You drop from one shadow into the other shadow, and you go back and forth in the struggle to find the archetype fullest expression, which is the king, the magician, the lover, and the warrior. So this is basically the direction that I do lead men into. So this is the big concept. If you want to have like a couple sentences for each, the king is the sovereign king, the chief of his family that leads, guides, protects, and serves his family every day to his best ability. Puts his family into the center, puts God into the center to lead his family. Okay.
Okay.
The magician is the one that is able to read in between the lines. Now, I don't call him the magician in my framework, how I operate. So for me, it's a little bit more mystic here, where the magician is the one that is in touch with God, that is in touch with the supreme, the universe, however you want to call it, with that life-giving force, and finds his direction and pleasures and understanding about the world from there. And then
Mhm.
you have the lover. The lover is solely responsible for the warmth at home. The woman nourishes that warmth, but the lover needs to establish the openness and the safety for that to come through. A woman will never be warm to you if you are cold as fuck. You're the one that needs to be warm and establish the warmth, and then the woman will melt in your arms and doesn't want to do anything but be there, right?
Yeah.
Lover. And then the warrior is the one with the backbone. The warrior is the one that stands up for what's right and for what's wrong. And the warrior is the one that takes on the suffering for the family, the one that goes to war in order to protect his family. Best movie for that, for king and warrior energy, is 300. Leonidas
Okay.
is the perfect king archetype, and he's the perfect warrior archetype. He doesn't have the magician, the lover dialed in that well, but he does the king and the warrior energy really well. So if you need a dose of real king energy and real warrior energy, 300 is a great movie, one
Okay.
of my favorites. So yeah, the warrior is is the one that goes to battle for his family and goes to
Okay.
battle for the king, for the vision that the king is establishing.
I like those directions. And for the men out there that are like, well, my wife's told me before that I'm not emotionally attuned or I'm not emotionally available. What does that even look like? How do
Mhm.
they even step into this emotional map and learn how to become these men if they were kind of like where you were, where they're
Mhm.
just completely emotionally closed off because that's how they grew up or that's how their dad was or what have you?
So there's a principle I teach, which is called the sacred mirror. Your wife is your sacred mirror. Everything that she mirrors back to you is basically a reflection of where you have to look at, no matter how painful, no matter how ugly. So, whenever you get triggered, for example, in a conversation, whenever you get defensive, whenever you start getting emotionally reactive, whenever you lose your grounds, that's when you just got to freeze in that moment and not do anything, what you would typically do. And you just have to start observing. You have to get into the observer spot, because there's a difference in between sitting here, like in my head, or sitting slightly above.
Hmm.
There's a
Okay.
difference between sitting in here and sitting in here. If you sit
In
in
your heart.
here, You are driven by what your nervous system is trained to do. And what your nervous system is trained to do is based on the operating system you received throughout your childhood. So if you sit in here, you will fall into the same behaviors and traps you have fallen into for the life that you have lived so far, and you will never gonna change. But if you sit up here above, slightly above the head, and you take an observer spot, you get a lot more calm. You're able to observe things and sort of like have a little bit of a pattern interrupt, and
Mhm.
not fall into your old behavior. Same if you sit in the seat of your heart. So what you then got to do is every time you get triggered, you need to write down after the conversation what got triggered, and then you ask why as long as you can do. And at some point, there's no answer to the why anymore. And that's when you found kind of like the core of what got you triggered. And that core is what you need to then investigate further. And based on that core, that I do strongly believe there are 4 different core wounds. Getting into those is a little bit is gonna expand the context of this conversation way too far, because I could talk hours about it. But like these triggers typically lead back to a core wound, and each core wound has specific things that need to be done in order for this core wound to not heal. It will never heal. It will become a teacher. So your core wounds are your teachers here to teach you things about being a human, or how to be a better human, and what you need to bring forth in your ancestries to pass down to your children for the trajectory of consciousness to change on our planet. So it's a lot bigger than our matrix thinking of. Like, there's a really good and great game plan behind what we experience here. So once you have that why, that last why, and you can map it to a core wound, then based on a core wound, how you treat it, quote unquote, is different, right? You can treat it with fire, with water, with air, and with earth. These are basically the elements that you can treat it with, and each have different, each carry different different properties and different things that you need to do.
Part of what you teach in your 12-week course?
Yeah, and that's where the advisor
Okay.
comes in as well.
Love
Right, and
it.
that's where the initiation comes in as well, because like in those 5 weeks, in those 5 days of personal, that's where we work a lot with the elements. That's where we, where we really explore the fire and the water and the earth and the wind, and embody that and integrate that within our journey. And that's what's changing us. That's where healing is. Healing is in nature. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I kind of want to shift this conversation to fatherhood a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, you talk about being an integrated father. So I want you to talk about what that is exactly. And then I also want you to talk about why that's impossible to have if you're still chasing the traditional definition of success.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So the integrated father, how that came across in the name and the concept of it is last year in the height of our second pregnancy, my wife has violent pregnancies. She's
Mhm.
purging the guts out for 8 months. She can barely drink and barely eat. People are dying from this shit she's
The
experienced.
hyperparemesis.
Yeah,
Uh,
hyperemesis gravidarum or something like that. I
yeah,
always explain
something like that.
she is allergic to pregnancy hormones. That's
Yeah,
what's up. So it's wild.
bless her.
Anyways,
Oh, that's awful.
in the height of that, we were sitting outside under the stars in a night where it was less dramatic, and we were talking about our lives and how wild everything has been changing, and how grateful we are for the change that's been happening. My wife expressed her gratitude for everything I'm doing, and I asked her the question, like, if your life chapter had a name, what would you call it? And she gave me an answer. And then she asked me, what would you call your chapter in life right now? And that was a year after her divorce. Ultimately, I said, the integrated father. I'm integrating all the parts I lost, or had never had in my life, into the father archetype, into the chief archetype, into all of these archetypes that I teach about and that I use in my frameworks. And she was like, wow, okay. And that sat with me until my son was born. And when my son was born, I actually stepped out with those frameworks, and I stepped out with all of the work that I had done on myself and started helping other men doing it. So the integrated father is basically about integrating these archetypes we have lost into who we need to become, from
Mhm.
boyhood to fatherhood or husbandhood. So I work with husbands and fathers. So boyhood to husbandhood and fatherhood, and integrating these archetypes and basically embodying them in all the work that needs to go along with that, embodying them in order to turn our marriage around, turn our parenthood around to the degree where we become the man, the husband, and the father that our family truly needs. If you look at it from like a higher perspective, being an integrated father is extremely important for your son and for your daughter. For your daughter, it's important because she's going to choose a man as her husband that looks like you.
Mhm. Exactly.
And it's important for your son because your son is going to be embodying the operating system that you are implementing into them. And that's why it's so important to become the integrated father, to become an integrated father that integrates all of these archetypes and embodies the man that their family truly needs.
I'm wondering, just as I'm thinking about this, you guys had your daughter when you were still like in your boy phase, and then you've had your son now that you have stepped into this manhood and all of that. From your perspective, what was postpartum like for her in those two different scenarios?
Yeah, I don't like to speak for my wife, but I can share my observations and what she has shared with me.
Yeah.
So postpartum number one was hell. Was hell. Was not good. Was absolute postpartum depression. The depths of darkness for her. Absolute breaking point. Feeling absolutely unsafe and also feeling so vulnerable. Just scary. Really scary experience for her. Postpartum number two, flipped the coin. On the other side, she felt safe, she felt held, she felt guided, she felt protected and served. She was very supported. I planned friends and family to come over for over 6 weeks. We were cooked for. Our daughter was taken care of. The house was clean. We always had somebody at home that she could talk to or cuddle with. I spent a lot of time in bed with her and with our son, just very present, very soft, very gentle, lots of body rubs, massages, and just the complete opposite of what I did the first time.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so yeah, she bounced back pretty strongly, and now she's out and about in the world alone. 3 months. She's in Phoenix right now with my in-laws. Well, the second postpartum was great, beautiful, and such a different quality of holding space and being able to be there and feel with her and hear her out and not try to fix anything, but just be there and hold her, and just and have compassion for the emptiness that she feels in her womb right now after carrying a baby around for 9 months, and the feelings of sorrow and sadness about giving birth. And yeah, all of the things that I would have brushed off before. I was like, yo, what the fuck are you sad about? Like, the baby's here, baby's healthy, baby's good. Like, what are you
Yeah.
sad about? It's like, I've, man, I was such an idiot, really. Like, such a boy in a man's body. Wild. So yeah, complete different experiences, I would say.
Before we get into this next question about what you're about, like the future generations,
Yeah.
wh- for men that are still in a boy's body, but their wives keep telling them this,
Uh-huh.
like how do they get to the point where they realize like this is what's happening, that they are still in a boy's body?
Yeah. Work with me, talk to me. That's one. Two.
Feeling you're going to be very direct with them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Go
no there's
ahead.
no there's no much question asking around it. I'm developing a quiz right now that will establish a little bit of these questions about like where men are stuck. Typically it starts with I don't feel safe with you. The wife keeps telling them I don't feel safe with you, and that's basically the opener. So if you hear from your wife I don't feel safe with you, it's very likely you're stuck in a boy's body. If
Mhm.
you hear from your wife that you never listen, you're probably stuck in a boy's body. If you hear from your wife that she has to do it all,
Mm.
probably that you're stuck in a boy's body. If you hear from your wife that she feels your business or your work's more important than her, you're probably stuck in a boy's body. Yeah, a lot of things.
Those are good. Those are
Say,
those are good
yeah,
starts.
yeah, those are good starts to understand. Like, okay, yeah, I think I'm stuck in a boy's body here.
Yeah. Okay, going back to kids and the next generation, what is the one thing that now that you have kids, and especially a son, what is the one thing that you feel like you're going to teach your son about what it means to be a man?
Once he starts to develop sexual desire, I'll take him out into the forest and probably have him not eat and not drink for 4 days in the forest, and have him be initiated into manhood by overcoming something that he thinks might kill him, so that he leaves behind his boy identity and starts to understand that when sexual desires enter, that's when responsibility starts to enter, because sex and making love is a sacred act of creation and nothing to be fucked around with. It's your sexual desires what either destroys this planet or what contributes to life. If you if you're gonna be promiscuous, or however you call that word, and you go around and fuck around, you're gonna destroy this planet, because you're gonna destroy a lot of women's hearts and trust,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna be the leader that I want you and need you to be. So I'll
Yeah.
take him out and initiate him into young manhood by probably the age of 12 or 13. The
Huge.
biggest thing.
The
Yeah, and
the
then living as an
lust.
example,
Yeah.
right?
I love that. And I think, I'm glad that that's what you touched on, because lust is a huge issue with a lot of men, that they cannot control. They don't have self-control, therefore they can't control the lust that they have.
Yeah, and this is where your discipline is trained every day, because our hormones, our testosterone, if healthy, it will make us feel this desire. I don't know how deep I can go on here, but there are entities, meaning there are spirits around that feed on the sexual desire of men, and then men will start to think, I will only get rid of this lust and this desire I feel if I masturbate, if I watch porn, or if I, for example, cheat on my wife in that moment because I feel lustful, right? And this is these spirits and entities, these darker and lower frequency energies that feed on that behavior. And this is where men need to become a sovereign king, understanding that this is not going to serve his kingdom, right?
Yeah.
They need to become the lover and understand that, and they have to turn to God and know that God has given us our women, our wives, for a reason, and that this sexuality, this sex, is for them and only them and nobody else. Not your hand, not your phone. It's your wife, and your wife is the only one. And if you don't get the sex that you need from your wife, that's your fucking problem, because you need to lead differently. You need to build the environment where your wife desires you more. That's your thing. So if it's good, because the lust and the desire can really drive a man into understanding of, like, yo, I'm actually in the driver's seat of, like, how much love my wife wants to make with me, and here are the 24 enhancing factors I need to focus on to build aliveness in me and my wife, and then I'm gonna have a sex life where I make love every night. Where it's
Yeah.
like, yo, okay, cool, kids are in bed, we ate dinner, fuck the series, fuck the TV, let's make love, let's have fun,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really important to understand that porn is very dangerous for your brain as well, because you
For
get
sure.
addicted to these chemicals. And a lot of these high level CEOs and executives and entrepreneurs and these very high achieving men, they are searching for outlets of their stress, of like the pent up energy throughout the day, of like the that was so much, and all they want to do is either make love or rest in the arms of their wives. But because they're cold idiots and they have no idea how to lead their wives, they then go into the bathroom and watch porn and jerk off and think they feel better. But that just leads them down a rabbit hole of where they actually destroy the connection between them and their wives, because
Yeah.
subconsciously there's something they have to hide all of the time.
Yeah.
And that's
And
what's
that
going to
just,
destroy.
the wife feels that dishonesty.
Yeah.
They absolutely do. The intuition is huge there. And they, like, that's how, when you're being cheated on, you're being cheated on.
Hmm.
You, like, the intuition is so high, it's
Hmm.
unbelievable. I'm
Hmm.
seeing a pattern here with everything that you're talking about, Thomas. It's leadership and leadership and more leadership and more leadership. And I think that this is what's missing for sure. And
Hmm.
also why boys stay boys and don't grow into men,
Hmm.
because that's just a generational cycle that's being passed
Hmm.
down.
And
Huge.
boys are not leaders. Boys are led by their parents. And
Mhm.
so when boys start to develop into young adults, and they start to form their own leadership, this is when they need to be broken, when their identity needs to be broken through emotional and physical pain and the transmission of wisdom, which are called the ancestral continuum of knowledge and wisdom, in order for them to be able to step up into their responsibility, then understand what it means to lead your life. And then they can bring that into their first relationship, into their marriage, into parenthood. Yeah. It
It's
starts
huge.
early. And that's what
For
the
sure.
integrated father is about, like breaking that cycle, and reestablishing the ancestral continuum of knowledge. Because at the end of the day, we are in war today because we have more boys in seats of power than we have sovereign kings, and then we have chiefs that are doing things for their people. Right. So I do think within the next 2 or 3 generations, if more men come and work with people like me, because they're more than just me, like there's so many amazing initiators and advisors out there that do amazing work. Well,
Mm.
we just need to become more, and more men need to put their resources towards that growth. And then the trajectory of consciousness of our planet is going to look very different in 150, 200 years. And the planet is going to look a lot different if we
Sure.
if we work on that. Yeah.
But it has to be real growth. Like it can't be like you said in the beginning of this episode where you're like reading the books and listening to the podcasts and all of that. Like you have to actually be embodying and feeling the growth and truly demonstrating that change moment to moment to moment throughout life.
Yeah, the growth, the determining factor of your growth is the results you see in your marriage and in parenthood. And if things don't change, you're not growing. Because if you grow,
Mm.
things will change. For your marriage to change, you need to change. If your marriage doesn't change, you are not changing. Full stop.
That's huge.
And yes, for some marriages, the wife is carrying a lot of trauma, and the trauma is making them refuse, is making them rebuke, is making them all of these things. But when you can rule out that you're not defensive, you're not emotionally reactive, you are leading, you are planning, you're taking shit off of your wife's back, you're present, you're emotionally available, you are sexually leading and initiating, and all of these things. If you do all of that without exception, and things are still not going in your marriage, that's when you can search a conversation with your wife and say, hey, look, for the past, and that's what I told my wife too. When I started my journey in September 2024, I told her, look, give me 12 months. If nothing changed, we're going to divorce. Promise you. Because I don't want you to be trapped in a marriage that is not good for you or not good for
Yeah.
our daughter. But in these
Yeah.
12 months, I will fucking do everything I can. And within 12 months, obviously, we had that conversation 12 months later outside and
Yeah.
talking about the integrated father. So it's like the results are going to be the determining factor of the growth that you're actually doing. And you will only see change in your marriage if you change. Full stop.
Huge. Yeah. And I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And I love that you told her give me 12 months and just to change things because that
Yeah.
that does make such a big difference. And I think people are so quick to, like we talked about earlier, upgrade the phone, upgrade the marriage versus keeping the family together. And I don't think people truly understand the effects of divorce on kids either.
Hmm.
So
It's
that's a really
huge.
big deal.
And then
Yeah.
also what I was thinking, because obviously I was thinking about divorce too, and if it was better or not. And I was thinking, yo, this opportunity of being absolutely broken to the absolute ground into all of the parts, if I can find a way to fix that, rebuild that, and get back into a thriving marriage, this will bond us for the rest of our lives more than I could ever be bonded to anyone else, aside from not
Yeah.
wanting to be bonded to anyone else, anyways, because I love her and she is my woman. She's my
Yeah.
queen, nobody else. I don't want anybody else. And yeah, and then another thing, often like when men say like, hey, like I think I should consider divorce, the question I ask is, are you ready for another man to step into your daughter's or your son's life and become their father?
What if they say yes? That they've thought about that and that it's fine.
Then I say we're not a good fit to work together. Go a different path. I don't care. Go ahead. Either you will come back in 2 or 3 weeks really pondering because you're only answering the question out of spite and thinking,
Mm.
you're like, I don't fucking care. She can go and do whatever she wants, but you do that because of resentment, not because your heart feels that. But if you're really true to your heart, hell no. A different man parenting my child? Hell no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think another man is okay ever with another man raising their child. That's their legacy.
Yeah. And if they say so, it's out of spite, out of hurt, out of out of them having their head in their ass and not seeing the world right. But
Yeah.
if that happens, then they are definitely going to have feelings of remorse and regret for sure. 100%. It's not going to not happen, you
Yeah.
know?
Hopefully, because their children definitely deserve better. For sure. Man. Okay, I kind of want to touch on this I mean, we've kind of talked about entrepreneurs and whatnot, but just in doing an ego check here a little bit, you have built $1 million businesses.
Mhm.
So I want your honest to God opinion on this, all right?
Mhm.
Is the provider role just a convenient hiding spot for men who are too scared to face the emotional demand with their wives?
No. Yes and no. The provider
Okay.
role is extremely important in order to create the environment at home that your wife needs in order to do the things that your wife is designed to do. So the provider role is really important. It's really important. Though the provider role and a successful entrepreneur providing can become the excuse for, hey, I'm already doing enough. I'm 8 hours at work. Yeah. No, not enough. And
Yeah.
so when that becomes the excuse and sort of like the, oh, I'm already working so much and doing all of these things and providing this lifestyle and blah, 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 it's not enough. Not because I say so, but because women all across the planet say so. I have done research for hundreds and hundreds of hours to understand how do the women speak about their men and how
Mhm.
do they describe the problems. And they at first have an arc of like 7 stages. At first, they say everything else is so good, just
Yeah.
this thing. Everything else is so good. And the next one is I've tried everything to let him know. I've tried
Mhm.
everything to help him, like to communicate my feelings. And that's when they go basically into like this desperation of like, man, I don't know what to do to help.
Yeah.
And then I'm tired of being his manager. And that's when they get into frustration of like, then they look at all of the things they have to do, da 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 da. That's when they start feeling frustrated. And
They
then
feel like the
I'm
mother.
start, yeah, and then I'm starting to resent him. And that's when they feel the resentment because they see all of the things they're doing and the man is not meeting them. And then they start to emotionally detach. And this is
Mhm.
the most dangerous phase because that's when they have that silent withdrawal, when they stop talking about things and the man thinks like, oh wow, great, we figured it out, she got over her shit and we're all good.
Yeah.
No more talks, but that's when
She's
she's
shutting down
emotion.
though.
Yeah, she's shutting down. She's emotionally detaching from the marriage, from the relationship, from the parenthood, and then the intermediary stage, post decision of like I'm going to divorce. She hasn't communicated yet, but she will feel peace with that decision because of the weight of the relationship. And then the stage is I'm done, and that's when the woman typically makes the announcement. That was September 2024 for
Yeah.
me.
For
Was the
you.
announcement? My wife went through all of these stages. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Been there.
Yeah. I'm happy I
Yep.
understand. Yeah, I'm happy I understand and I can help men understand more of that and really help them turn around their marriages and for good, and make their wives feel the way they really want to feel, and for them, for the husbands to feel the way they want to feel as well, because yeah.
Do you think it's more fulfilling for men, like, once when they shift from, "This is too much, this is too," like, "I'm carrying everything," all the things, do you think that there's a fulfillment in that? Of, "I'm building this, and this is mine, and I've," like, that when they're saying they're not happy because they are building it and holding everything, that there's a shift there?
Evan, yeah, for sure. When my wife comes home, when my wife sees me, she's like she sees me as the embodiment of everything that is needed in her life. Like I'm her man. I'm the center of a universe along the kids. Like if I'm home, like when I'm not with her, 10 minutes goes by and it's like, baby, I miss you. when you embody that man and become that man for her, it's the biggest fulfilling feeling in your heart when your woman desires you after 5 minutes of being apart from you. When she comes to you with like, hey baby, I've read this today. I feel really scared about this. What do you think? Hey baby, I was thinking about this. What would you do in this moment? Etc. etc. When she comes for your counsel, for your safety, for your warmth, for your strength, for your inspiration, for all, man, it's nothing more fulfilling than that.
That's
None.
awesome.
At least
That's
for me.
really beautiful. It's interesting that a couple of weeks ago I did an episode on maturity with an emotional sobriety expert, and at the end of our conversation, she was talking about the 3 things that you have to have in order to know that you are with the right person. And it's that you know without a shadow of a doubt that you are going to be growing with this person, that this person is going to like you are going to be the absolute best version of yourself because they have pushed you to grow. The second one was respect. And like it sounds like that's what your wife has. She respects you more than anybody else on this planet because of the work that you've done, because you've stepped into the best version of
Because
yourself.
I earned it. I didn't
Yes,
demand it.
you
I
earned
earned
it.
it.
Yes. And then the last one was just choosing that you are the one that she chooses to love every single day and love with her absolute whole entire being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would sign off on that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. With the respect, you earned it. I think there's a lot of men out there that think that just because they're a man or just because they're bringing home the bacon or
Yeah.
whatever that they need to be respected. I believe that men need respect more than anything else in the world, where women need love and safety more than anything else. But I think there's a disconnect there
Yeah.
with the men and the boys.
Respect is earned. Like,
Yeah.
you can't be a fucking Andrew Tate and just get a woman into your house and demand respect. I demand her to follow my rules. I demand her to do this and that and the other thing. But the fuck you do? Like, what did you do for her? Come on, man. Like, what are the war trophies that you brought home for her? How much did you protect her from the world actually? And if you do, okay, yeah, you can demand respect, but demanding respect is also a very boyish thing to do. A
Yeah.
real man works and works and works and earns his respect. And if his wife doesn't show it, the man leaves. That's what a man does. A boy demands it. A boy runs for it. A boy asks for it. A man does the right thing right and either gets the respect that he knows he earned or he will leave. And this is a very important part.
Do you have time to dig into that a little
Yeah.
bit? Because my whole thing here is I think there's a lot of men that leave thinking that they've earned that respect, and they haven't actually done the work.
Yeah. Yeah. Then they haven't earned that respect yet if they haven't done the work. So
But
it's
the
like,
ego says that they have done the
yeah, and that's the problem. That's why they're still boys, because the ego dies when you turn into a man, a husband, and a father.
Mm,
And that's the ego death. You will take yourself out of the center of your life and you put your family next to God right there. And that's when things don't
that's
evolve
huge.
around you no more. It evolves around your family and God. What does God want you to do, need you to do? And what does your family need you to do and want you to do? And then you harmonize those both, and that's the work you start performing. That's when you get the respect. And if your wife fails to give you that respect, and I always put a big exclamation point here, if you have fucked up in your marriage for 2 years, you got to
Mhm.
try at least for 2 years to make it right before you make a decision. If you fucked up for a decade, you got to give it a decade of time. It will typically go a lot faster than the decade, but you got to show up the same way to yourself how you showed up to her. So if you were a dick for 10 years, can't expect to be a good one for a year and then get all of the respect you're looking for. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, it's like no split personalities here. One way of thinking, a clear way of thinking, an integral way of thinking. Yeah. So don't make that decision, too early. Like, put the work in that you put in as well to destroy your marriage, the same amount of time. And then you can elaborate and evaluate. And you can also let your wife know of like, look, we've been a year in it and I have changed drastically, and I've seen things change in our marriage, but there's still things that need to be worked on, obviously. But in 12 months, we'll likely sit down and have a yes or no conversation if this is a path forward that we both want or not. And I will do my absolute best to make it a yes, but that requires your work as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a
And
big
then,
exclamation point.
yeah,
I
big
like it.
explanation point. Yeah, important.
It
Backbone.
is very important. I think there's way too many people that quit on their marriages too early. So,
Yep,
yep,
boys.
I like it. Boys. Yep. Totally makes
Doesn't
sense.
work. I will move on.
Yep.
He
And
destroyed
then,
my sandcastle. I don't like to play with him.
yeah.
It's like,
And then,
come on, man.
yeah. No, I know. Thomas, gosh, thank you so much for being here today. I know we ran a little bit over, but I think a lot of men are going to get a lot out of this. And I think a lot of women are going to get a lot of hope out of this too. If men are brave enough to work with you and truly not just interested in the change, but committed to the change, how do they find you? How do they work with you? What does that look like?
Go over to Substack, write a Substack, go over there, read a couple of things about what I do, how I do it, and that will determine if you like it or not. And if you're really down to work with me, go on Substack. If you don't have an account, create yourself an account. I don't communicate anywhere else. I don't do Instagram DMs and shit like that. Substack is a very, very intentional platform. Yeah, head over to Substack, send me a personal message. I'll get on a phone call with you and check you out and see how I can help, if I can help, and if we're aligned, we can work, and if not, then not. Simple as that.
Love it. Yeah, I'm on Substack too. I really like that platform. It's a good one. Okay, Thomas. Thanks so
Let's
much.
do
Have a
it.
great afternoon.
Thank you, Cameron. Likewise.
I want to ask you a serious question. What are you feeding your mind right now? If it's social media, are you tired of doom scrolling through the angry comment sections and political rants yet? What if you use that time to actually fix your marriage? Welcome to the free Married and Connected School community. It's like social media, but without the ads, without the judgment, and without the noise. Just real self-paced tools that get you out of that roommate phase starting today. Inside, you get an exact blueprint for a weekly State of the Union meeting with your spouse. We're cutting mental load, we're stopping miscommunications, and we're breaking that exhausting loop of doom argument once and for all. Plus, you get instant access to workshops on overcoming resentment and bringing the actual fun back into your marriage. We have a dedicated space just for guys jumping into Forging Fortitude. It's a 10-week intensive to help you step into your masculine leadership and become the husband and man that God called you to be. And for ladies joining Edifying Eden, we're stepping out of that controlling, nagging era into our soft, nurturing, feminine era, even if your husband hasn't taken the reins yet. Either way, you can take responsibility for your side of the street. Stop scrolling the internet and start investing in your home. The community is 100% free with options to purchase certain courses. Click the link in the show notes and join the Married and Connected School community today. I'll see you inside. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional counseling or therapy. Every couple story is unique, so take what's helpful and leave the rest. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that neither I, Kameran Alareqi, Married and Connected, or Recognizing Potential Coaching are responsible for any outcomes related to what you apply from this show, especially if you are not a client of mine.